Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Shalom alaikum, Ni hao, Sat Sri Akal, Namaste. It is always good to respond to the queries of dear friends, and my today's concern is not going to be a sort of a talk which is amalgamation of different topics, because somebody, actually it is a concern of somebody else, and that is foreign policy. Well, my basic training in masters and then in MPhil was in international politics. So I will try to be not so difficult, and my effort will be to make those friends who are concerned with analysis of Pakistan's foreign policy. It's a very tricky subject, but firstly, we shall know that foreign policy is reflection of our culture, our values, our traditions. Because we are the product of our environment. So that determines our environment, social environment determines our behavior. So as a society, as an individual, so if we are having a democratic culture in real sense in our society, and if we believe in exercise of free will in legal and constitutional manner, obviously our foreign policy will not be so rigid, and we will be enjoying quite normal and good relations, at least with developed world. In third world, obviously in developing world, as we are having an ideological state, our policy, not only foreign policy, but all the policies are determined by our ideology. It is everywhere like this. In capitalist world, the ideology is a source of guidance while making policies. In capitalist world, it is so. In communist world, obviously, their ideology is the main source of guidance for them for making policies. Now, a good thing which has happened recently, when I came across a speech of Secretary of State of USA, Honorable John Kerry, and with China, he was for China, he was on US-China relations, he was giving his assertions that now their ideological stance is not so rigid while dealing with China, and same is the case with Chinese, because they are not so rigid now in their ideological stance, and that is really a very intelligent way of doing things, because in earlier videos I have explained that if there are some drawbacks in communism, obviously those whom were responsible for promotion of this ideology, its exponents, they were not having very, uh, they were not in a very comfortable environment. And in today's world, we are in a better position to think and rethink regarding our ideologies and priorities. So that is about the first world. I mean, coming back towards Pakistan's foreign policy, let me explain one thing which is quite embarrassing here, that we are a third nuclear power of the world, but our state structure is generalized. Say, for example, MBBS doctors, those who had done masters in chemistry, they appear in civil services exam, and then they are being categorized and are being put in foreign office on various desks. How an MBBS will run a foreign policy or a MSc chemistry, that is not a concern of our system, existing generalized system. Well, efforts were made to make that system better, and the culture of specialization shall be promoted in a way that Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, he came up with area study centers in all of our major universities. So I did Masters in International Relations, then I did MPhil in American Studies. So all these area study from an area study center of Quaid-e-Azam University. So those area study centers were created to have experts, so they can sit on desks in foreign office and to handle and to deal the specific issues regarding the specific areas. But then, you know, that generalized structure is still prevailing here. We are not there where we should be, and obviously people like me, that okay, we go for higher education and all that, but then we have our own priorities, and we cannot get swayed by the frenzy, by the craziness prevailing in our society regarding jobs or regarding all other petty concerns. We are not people like me are not power hungry, and we are not revengeful too, because as I have mentioned earlier, that I took birth in a family, in a high family, where there was no problem, I mean. And our elders were so brilliant, so they had left no enmities for us. And besides, we were informed well in time how to live our lives in a better way, in a better environment. So in simple words, we cannot get impressed by any prevailing trend or fashion or something like that. That crazy. We are trained in a way that we keep ourselves away from any sort of craziness. Even now, I have mentioned that earlier that I live in a very simple town here. Now I'm no more in Islamabad. After completion of studies, I came back, and here in Kohad, life is so simple. There are no pubs, no discos, nothing. I mean, and then clean environment and sweet water and beautiful scenery and peace and love and everything is here, which is required to live a very good life. I mean, to go crazy about big cities or big countries and all without taking the hazards, environmental hazards and other problems which can cause mental sickness, that loneliness, which can be caused in big countries where the life is so mechanical. So, I mean, while making a strategy, a life strategy for myself, I was well aware of everything. So, I do respond to the needs of my country whenever I'm being required. I do come up with a prompt response. I do my duties as a Pakistani citizen, but I do not make myself crazy to run after jobs. Uh, I have to explain this because there is an elder uh, from Karak, and he shall be informed that the job which I was having with FDMA, the recent job as monitoring officer, that was not my choice. I mean, Governor KB had called me, and then for 15 long days I was arguing with them that okay, I can be good in foreign office for you because my education and training is like this, and I have already led delegation to USA, and I do have experience in diplomacy. In very difficult times, I have led the delegation to United States of America for Pakistan, and the result of my that effort were great, and still our nation is reaping the fruit of that, and even American nation is reaping the fruit of that visit, because I came up with the people-to-people contact idea in that visit, and since long that was being ignored because uh, humans are humans. I mean, it is not like this that if you are a Secretary of State of USA, you will be having enough time to. They do have advisors. Even President of USA has got advisors, and through discussions and deliberations of intelligentsia, the academicians, they get fresh ideas, and so I was also contributive in that respect. So that I think that elder from Karat will be clear-headed now, because I do not run after jobs. My life strategy is based upon information, upon knowledge, and I do have my own big initiatives, and I'm not dependent upon any job. So, coming back towards foreign policy, and the previous few sentences which I had to assert, because that is also reflection of our culture, because everybody is so crazy here to be something, and something powerful. everybody is power hungry in our society. And many among us are revengeful too because of their bitter past, and violations of oath of office are so common here. Even politicians, when they start their election campaign, if you see that rhetoric, and when they come into power and when they start uh, breaking all their promises and doing things which only a revengeful person can do. That is so obvious here in Pakistan. Even in India it is so. So our social milieu, our social values, our culture, our psychological condition, that reflects our foreign policy. Well, Great Britain is also an ideological state, that is a Christian state. But for all practical purposes, they are now part of the first world, and obviously they are the top brains in the world. So they are leading the world. Even their monarchy is constitutional. And that constitutional monarch, Mother Queen, Honorable Mother Queen, she's a big source of strength to the foreign policy of Great Britain, because she by herself is having links with all the leading families around the world. And besides her experience and her knowledge, that is a source of guidance for the people of Great Britain. So their society, their social milieu was conducive in creation of minds which can give new meanings to the old ideas. Constitutional monarchy is an old idea, okay? But they have made it constitutional. And they did it in a very peaceful manner. Some upheavals were there, because it's a 2,000, 3,000 years history of democratic struggle within Great Britain. How a monarch became constitutional monarch, that took at least 2,000 years of evolution in Great Britain. But bloodshed was not that much as it was witnessed in France during the French Revolution. So now probably a friend who is concerned about foreign policy is getting idea that individuals, they run the system, and individuals are product of our social environment. If we are having a democratic culture, if we believe in exercise of free will in a constitutional and legal manner, obviously our as a society, if we believe in all this, then obviously our foreign minister, our prime minister, our defense minister, they will also be complying with the UN Charter and with the decent norms of diplomacy prevailing around in the world, in the first world. in third world, in developing world, situation is really very bad. And because of the torturous environment, especially in South Asia, from Afghanistan to Rajkumari, that is part of India, the last end of India, including Pakistan. Our culture is based upon, it's an authoritarian culture. Not in my family or not in uh, some families which are highly educated and all that, that authoritarian system prevails. But in in our culture, generally, we have a authoritarian setup. Papa beats the son, the eldest son beats the youngest one, and then they do with sisters. Mom even beats the children, and when they go to school, the teacher beats the children. And in society, the uncles, they beat their nephews and nieces. So authoritarian figures, the powerful figures are there. Power hungry people are everywhere in South Asia. Even the others who are holding different positions of authority, they also do the same. So what is the output of all this authoritative behavior at large scale? Once you torture others, they become cunning. They become liars. They become deceptive. In civilized worlds, their personalities are shattered. Now, during General Musharraf era, I was writing on these issues too much, so the laws were made that there will be no beating in schools. And I hope that one day we will be able to implement that law too in our educational institutions. We do have some good institutions where by myself, I was in convent till primary, and there were no harsh punishments. And me, I was a good student, so I never came across any punishment. Even when I came to Urdu medium in a government school, I was never punished by it. Once only I came across that that was almost, I was lashed by Islamic studies teacher. He was Maulana, and his name was Maulana Abdur Rahman. I still remember. He's no more in this world. May God bless his soul. But somehow he became so angry with me that with the big bamboo he started beating me in classroom. That how you cannot memorize that funeral prayer. I was unable to do that. Somehow my memory was not working at that time. But he became very angry. And he was literally lashing me. That signs on my back is still there. So only once I have seen that anger of a religious man. somehow I survived. I was unable to sleep at my bed for many days, and I was hiding it from my family too, because uh, mom, she might have stopped me from going to school and all that, and I wanted to be an educated being. So it is so that we are all from Khyber to Rajkumari, everybody has been exposed to either to mental torture or to physical torture. So then, in my case, my Western friends, my professors, American professors, and my own Pakistani professors in university, my colleagues, mostly from abroad, because Quaid-e-Azam University is an international university. So I was getting a first-hand information from all around, and was able to make myself better. And so when such conditions, when such social conditions are prevailing here, obviously our foreign policies are also very rigid. You know how cunning is an Indian foreign policy? It's not that, I mean, I don't claim that Pakistanis are very straightforward. We are also going through a big torture, the whole society. But torture in India is much more greater than here in Pakistan. So whenever they are unable to handle a situation there, law and order, some subversive activity, they put a blame on Pakistan. And just to get rid of public pressure, because people, they want security, and they have got very good sympathizers in USA. I will not name her, but a Facebook friend of mine, she's rather a family friend, an elderly lady. On Pathankot issue, she came up with a suggestion that, okay, then if you guys, if you Pakistanis are not responsible for that violence in India, then you shall send your army to help Indians. And I said, okay, me, I am in my capacity. I can recommend this and I will do that. I would like to help them. But they are responsible for their own security. They shall work hard. They should not do these mean things while relaxing in their offices, and when there is a problem. It is everywhere like this. In California, James was arrested because those guys in California, they were at a high alert. He was also going to attack a nightclub. So James was arrested with a gun and all the explosives. But in Orlando, in Florida, obviously everybody was sleeping, because that guy, he had slaughtered almost 50 people there, 49 people there in Orlando, in Florida. Obviously, when the cameras are there, where there are so strict security measures and someone can succeed to do all this, what does it mean? Means that everybody was sleeping at that time, not there doing their duty. So this is what is going on. I mean, people, though America is a first world country, and maybe that guy was so tricky that he was able to trick the whole security setup, and maybe that security guys are vigilant, but they're tricked by that person. But ultimate responsibility of the security is upon the people who are responsible for it and are being paid for it and are being trained for it. So no excuses. I'm living here in a developing country. I know how people do the things here. Something bad happens, and I was not that bitter with that elderly lady. I cannot be bitter with her. Americans are good friends, and I'm their already citizen too. But now, sometimes while discussing it with mine one in home, um, yesterday I said to her when there was a problem with Afghanistan, that look, that lady, she was asking me to send my children, my sons, my daughters for protection of Indians. Though they are also a nuclear power, they do have their armed forces, their own security agencies. And the value of my children is not, in her eyes, they can get killed there while doing this. And India is a strange place for them. And the politicians, on top of it, they spread an environment of hostility in Indian populace to win votes. They do not discuss issues, social issues in their campaigns. They discuss Kashmir and as integral part and fighting till last drop of blood and things like that. By this way they win elections. The more extremist you are in India, the more chances are there of your victory. And that Modi is an apt example of that. He is an extremist leader of BJP, and because of his anti-Muslim and anti-Pakistan stance, he had succeeded to win elections. Now that gradually people of India are realizing that such things are bad and such rhetoric is bad and that does not go in their interest. So now I'm getting gestures from the people of India, and they're not following Modi anymore. He was defeated there in Bihar elections. His party was defeated. So these are certain examples of a social milieu, political environment which we are having here in subcontinent. So our foreign policies are, we Pakistanis, we are having that ideological concern. So our basic fundamental priority is good relations with our Muslim brothers in Middle East, in Africa, and elsewhere in the world. And we always strive to help them in wars in Middle East. We have sided with our Muslim brothers in the past, in 70s especially, and that policy is being determined by our ideology, and we are so rigid in it because we cannot go back on it. There will be a big reaction if we ignore our Middle Eastern Muslim brothers or Southeast Asian Muslim brothers or Muslims anywhere in the world. So So that is almost a cornerstone of our policy. One of our president, Ziaullah, he used to say that Islam is Pakistan is a fort of Islam, and that is why we are having 3 million Afghan refugees here, along with many from Central Asian states, and many of them are involved in terrorist activities. Uh, and recently, this week, we have almost had a hot pursuit on Torkham border with Afghanistan. Our very able Major Jawad Ali Changezi has been martyred there. Though now our forces have captured the whole thing, and obviously we are a third nuclear power of the world, and we are having the best army in the world, rather best armed forces in the world. So how a country like Afghanistan can think of creating any fuss with us? But obviously they are a third world country, and while making assessments regarding their foreign policy behavior, they can, I mean, they can be unrealistic, and they can do these things. It is very easy for us since last many decades to capture the whole thing till Kabul. But because that is a Muslim country, and our foreign policy, the cornerstone of our foreign policy is Islamic Brotherhood. So we never went for that. We have waited for a Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, and then we had helped them to resist those Soviets, and they went back finally. And I by myself, I do not insist too much of going into Afghanistan, though they are causing big problem here. They're giving us economic setbacks because of that smuggling, and then their refugee population, which is here from the last 3 decades. The idea in my mind is that I do learn lessons from other countries. Soviets, they were the superpower, and then they're disintegrated because of the economic reasons, the economic setbacks which they have got from their misadventure in Afghanistan. So all their nuclear arsenal was unable to keep them integrated as a one country. Now there are 15 independent states. Soviet Union is no more there. So my preference in foreign policy is always motivated by that thinking that we shall have very good economic relations with our neighboring countries, and our foreign policy shall promote our economic agenda too. So as we by ourselves, obviously elders, they say one thing or another, that they have mistreated East Pakistanis and all that, but actual problem was weak economy of Pakistan. Everybody was deprived of everything, and the people of Bangladesh, they were taking it to the heart that West Pakistanis are exploiting them and all that. So that disintegration of Pakistan was also due to economic reasons. The important point here is that rich people, they think in much more better way than those who are facing harsh economic conditions. Because once you are comfortable and you are educated too, then you can concentrate on something better. But even if you are educated and you are exposed to harsh living conditions, then obviously you are also a human being. You can become a Hitler. You can start invading everybody. Why Hitler had invaded the world? That war reparations which Germany has to pay after the First World War, the amount was so big that German nation was economically crippled. So everybody was almost thinking in terms of Hitler to get rid of economic burden there in form of war reparations. So economy and foreign policy, then national power, they do play an important role too while determining foreign policy of a country. We do go through a course that is, the title of that course is Foreign Policy Analysis. When we analyze a foreign policy of a country, then we go through the culture of that country, their national power, their economic conditions also becomes our consideration while analyzing their future or existing course of action towards the outer world. So that is why mostly um, while interacting with my developed Western friends within UN or outside UN, uh, I always advise them to help us in India, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan to improve our economies. Once our people are out from harsh living conditions, they can think in a better way. They can think in terms of enjoying their lives too. A man on horseback is a person who is in a difficult situation. And if the whole nation is in a difficult economic situation, they are all people on a horseback. They can come up with any adventure or misadventure of a dictatorial nature. So, while that is my humble advice to the first world countries, that they shall not push the cat into corner, because then once the cat is being pushed into corner, then though there is no option left for the cat but to attack the one who is pushing her. Germany under Hitler did the same. They were pushed into corner through war reparations. The amount was so big that many generations of Germans were unable to pay all the amount back to the developed world in shape of war reparations. What is war reparations? War reparation is the amount which a nation guilty of inflicting war and damages upon other countries, whereas being defeated, then victorious countries, they put economic cost upon the country which has initiated war. So that is war reparation. So that cost of damage to those countries which were fighting against Hitler, that cost was so big that not against Hitler, but during First World War, those countries which were fighting against Germany in the First World War, when they become victorious over Germany, they had put that war reparations of huge amount on Germany. And then Hitler was having, and this nation was having very little option. But the things which he had done to the Jews, that I am unable to find any justification till today. And that I regret, and I mean, I feel really sorry for that, the whole Jewish community. He should not have done that. I know that Hitler was allergic with that economic cost of war reparations upon Germany. In the world economy, because the Jewish community, they are the most smartest people in the world. And the world economy is in their hands, always. So probably that was the reason that Hitler was attacking them. Once you defeat your fellow beings with your sharp brain, economically and in all other fields too, then those beings, if you're not so tactful, then they can become physical with you. It was happened to me in school days when from class 1 to class 2, I was promoted within 3 months. Madam was Madam Gulzar Shah. She was taking tests from all of us. So while keeping my potential in view, she has promoted me from class 1 to class 2 within 3 months. The normal period is 1 year. So all my previous class fellows were feeling defeated and humiliated, and I was a child and I was not so tactful while handling them. I was also feeling so proud, and I was ignoring my previous friends, what they did to me. In sand pool, now that sand pool is not there in Guard Convent anymore. But in nursery area, there was a sand pool. So we used to jump in it in a break time, but in a civilized manner. All my previous class fellows who were feeling defeated because I was promoted within 3 months, what they did to me, they made me jump into sand pool, and then they had started jumping on me. Wow. So what was the ultimate outcome? My hand was under bit stress because that came under me, and while having a fall into sand pool, and then all the class fellows, we were all small kids, but all of us were having weight. So finally, there was a bandage on my hand, and my mom was in school and was having a meeting with Mother Helen, and Mother Helen, she was coming out. She came out with a big hunter. She never used to beat anybody, but then everybody was afraid of her because she was having that hunter with her. So all my guilty class fellows, they were terrorized by her, and they had promised that they will never do this to me. But that day, my mom had told me that if you will beat them with your sharp brain, and if you're not kind to them, even and if you're not console them, they're your class fellows, and they will feel defeated, and they can attack you. So always be tactful while handling them. So that I had learned that lesson in a very early age, and we shall all always celebrate our victories in a very dignified manner, and we shall not feel others defeated, because they can react too, they can become physical with us. And we are humans, we cannot be super beings, superhumans. Uh, in academics, we can defeat them, but physically, if they are in large number and they become physical. So in university, then they made me physically quite tough, and as I mentioned earlier uh, on Facebook once, that there was a guy, and that guy was very ill-mannered. I know people in Jamaat Islami, many of them, they sit and talk to me. They're quite civilized, some of them. But that guy was very uncivilized. In Qaid-e-Azam University, that is a distant place. We are all away from home. And we are all dependent upon each other as fellow students. And then we have groups there. And obviously, that is the most liberal part of Pakistan, Qaid-e-Azam University. So we, boys and girls, our hostels are near to each other, and people from the same region, we do sit together. Even international students, boys and girls, we sit together, and at least we eat together. And sometimes in libraries, too, we sit in as a study group and spend our times together. And then in formal parties and all that, the mixed gatherings are very common in Islamabad. So that ill-mannered guy, he came and he misbehaved with me, because their stance is very Islamic and radical, and they don't believe in interaction between boys and girls even within universities. So this is our social milieu, the reflection of social milieu. That a female student from my province, she was having some problem. I went out for jogging in the evening on a periphery, and she was also a member of our group. So she has stopped me there, near the girls' hostel. And she was narrating her problem. I was listening to her, she was junior. And that Jamaat Islami guy came, and he called her like this, by calling her name. You come here. And that was a very uncivilized way of doing things, but I have tolerated, because those who are living in Pakistan, they knew the reality of those times. That was the era of General Zia, and the campus was taken over by Jamaat Islami. So I have tolerated the behavior of that man. The lady was terrified. I asked her, okay, I told her that, okay, I have got your problem, and we will think for it, and we will see what we can do. So she went back to the hostel without paying any heed to that big terrorist of Jamaat Islam. The other day, there was a class test, and all my Shi class fellows and male class fellows, the moment we came out after giving that written test, the big terrorist again, he came and he has started bullshitting me and saying very bad things. I mean, those were not curses, but he was literally abusing, hurling abuses. So I was having no other option but to request him to come downstairs, because all my Shi class fellows were standing and he was saying very bad things. And very few people were aware of the fact that from the last 3 months before that incident, I was getting training of Thai boxing, so boxing from my senior Sajid Khan. He was he was from Mardan, and he knew about my situation, so he was giving me some physical training. And in GEM, we are having GEM gymnasium in university, in Qaid University, and we can find some time to go there. So then I was having no other option, but I requested him to come downstairs. If there is some problem, I can negotiate with him. And downstairs, he became so angered that he has tried to physically harm me. He was about to attack me, and then that my defensive punch, it went out automatically, and that guy was hit here. So if you hit someone here between the jaws, no matter if he's much more in weight and height than you can, if the punch is really of some power, that guy can be knocked out, and he was knocked out. And there was a big fuss in campus, and my juniors from Pakistan Army, I was having 2 juniors. They were here in Qaid University to get a degree in international relations. So they were my juniors and good friends. So in the evening they came that that guy, he cannot abuse anybody now. His jaw has been locked now with your punch, and thanks God that he is alive. So that punch, you can. That punch was. That guy was guilty. He never went to anyone. Everybody who was the witness of his misbehavior. So he never went to complain against me, because he by himself was guilty of initiating that problem with me. Drunk with power, those guys, they do not consider us anything. But that punch has helped us to accomplish our academic pursuits, not only to me, but to all my group, because no one ever had tried to be physical with us in university days. So I came up with these examples to give that idea to the Jewish community, that start sharing, and obviously you guys are very brilliant in business especially, but never make others feel that they are defeated. Always be kind to them, do share your riches if possible, and so they to avoid any physical attacks as it came in the days of Hitler, and use these tactics too, as I do. I mean, I'm always sharing, and I do survive. I'm not a Jew, I'm a Muslim. I took birth here in KB, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in Kohad, and but I do have a global thinking, and being a student of international relations, we do think in terms of world government under UN, to have whole world borderless, and we do believe in equal opportunity for all, and don't believe in any sort of discrimination. So my thinking is like this. But it does not mean that while assessing or analyzing Pakistan's foreign policy, if you set a standard, people like me are not big in number here in Pakistan. And even if we are having a specialized knowledge, we are out from those offices which were being specified for us. There are certain other people, because of the generalized system, some MBBS is sitting on foreign policy desk regarding United States of America, or MSc chemistry sitting there, because the civil services exam is the criteria, still criteria, though the specialized training is there in area study centers, but then we are not being directly inducted in foreign office. That practice is, which was devised by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, one of our learned Prime Minister, that is still not prevailing here in Pakistan. So that friend who is concerned about that failures of Pakistan's foreign policy, he shall know that until and unless we are having specialized knowledge and induction of those who are having specialized knowledge and training in our foreign office, our foreign policy won't be that much up to the hopes of that senator friend. We have to take realistic steps to improve our relations and with our neighboring countries, and while analyzing the foreign policies of our neighboring countries, we shall also have experts in our foreign office. I have given you the brief introduction of Indian foreign policy. That is the tortured people, the reflection of tortured people, mostly based upon biased agenda regarding Pakistan, their foreign policy. Even let me give you an instance of that cruel foreign policy of India. A Nepalese friend of mine, Facebook friend of mine, he came up with a complaint, because I'm a journalist, so people all around the world, they contact me and they're in trouble. So Mahendra, being an English teacher in Nepal, he was swift enough to inform me that earthquake hit, Nepal is facing sanctions from India. They have stopped all the aid to Nepal, and even the aid which was coming through UN, that has been also stopped by India, which was coming through India. Upon a petty internal political issue of Nepal. Now, you know how that those who are propagating themselves as the harbingers of peace all around the world, that Indian Foreign Office, how cruel they can be with their small neighbors. Sikkim, Bhutan, they don't have their own foreign policies. They are the satellite states of India now. But Nepalese, they do resist. Though Nepal is a Hindu kingdom, but they resist Hindu India. The moment they had given me the story, I came up not only to the international media, but I had broken that story at my own blog too, because I know the influence of India. They can block the media outlets too. And then within 3 days, India was compelled to remove the ban, and I had confirmed that from Mahindra and all other Nepalese friends, they had started receiving aid finally. How cruel India can be with its neighbors. That earthquake had literally destroyed Nepal, and most of the people living in Nepal are Hindus. All aid, including food aid, medical aid, coming through UN even, was stopped by India upon a Hindu kingdom. So now analyze their foreign policy, my senator friend. Now analyze their foreign policy. How sick minds can make the lives miserable for others who are already in misery, of their own people, of their own religion. And though those sick minds are plenty in number in subcontinent because of prevailing authoritarian setup, from family to school to religious seminary, everywhere the torture and the physical harsh punishments are there. So the output is the leadership of political leadership is also an output of our society. They are the members of our society, victim of authoritarian. They are also victims of authoritarianism. So don't expect any straightforward fair deal from a cunning people. Cunningness is outcome of psychological and physical torture extended to a population or to an individual. So asking me to analyze, I mean, sorry for being so bitter, but these are the realities prevailing around here. I by myself, I think in global terms. I believe in ability of the internet. Now, the people-to-people contact, the idea of mine, which I have floated in USA while addressing the gathering in State Department of high-ups there at that time in 1988. I came up with the idea of people-to-people contact to improve relations between the countries, especially USA and Pakistan. At that time, that was my major concern. I'm working on that idea. I do have now thousands of friends all around the world. They're in position of power and influence, and they're having very sane brains, they're not sick minds. People in Europe and America, they do exercise their free will in very constitutional and legal manner. They're living in free societies. They're not mentally sick, they're not finding an opportunity to harm others, to torture others, to deprive others economically. They're happy and they want to see everybody happy around them. So, what to do now? We are a third nuclear power of the world and are surrounded by countries where the authoritarian setup is there. Even Iran is revolutionized. how harsh punishments are being extended to the people of Iran. The revolutionary regime is there, and even in Pakistan, people are thinking in terms of revolution. But the reality is that we are having diverse cultures. We are Punjabis, we are Pashtuns, we are Balochis, we are Sindhis, we are Kashmiris, we are from Gilgit. Our cultures are different. Nobody can bring any revolution here because our that message of revolution in Iran was communicated to everybody because they have the same language. They're all Persian speaking. They can understand the message uh, and can we hit that message uh, because the medium of communication, that Persian language, is the same. And during the days of Shah, they were having some problems with Shah. So they came up together against him, or some other external forces were in need of Islamic uh, government there in Iran to confront communism and all that. So their task was easy because the message, because of the common language, because all around Iran there is only one language, that is Persian. So the message of revolutionaries was understandable to everybody. So they came out against Shah of Iran. But in Pakistan, we are having different languages, different cultures. If you are a Pashtun revolutionary, Punjabis are unable to understand your logic. You're talking in Pashto. And even in Pashto, on after every 10 kilometers, the dialect is different. So you cannot communicate your message, revolutionary message. Uh, you can make few people understand, but you will never be a success in bringing any revolution through the people of Pakistan. These are the set rules which we social scientists have discovered, and probably you all are getting what I'm talking about. And same is the case in Punjab. If there is somebody is talking in terms of revolutionary ideology of its promotion in Punjab, people in Sindh and Balochistan and in Kashmir and in Gilgit are unable to understand what he's talking about. So, I mean, there will be never a situation in Pakistan that everybody is out. The rebellion can be there because of injustices or of some failure of our legal system or economic injustices done by the some at some stage at a very large scale by federal government or their own provincial governments. That small rebellions can be there, but no revolution, as far as my humble knowledge is concerned, no revolutionary figure can succeed here in Pakistan. Because not everybody can be convinced because of our different languages and diverse cultures, our thinking is different and we cannot think alike. And for revolution, it is required that everybody when they start thinking and coming out on streets to overthrow somebody or rather a whole system change, when they start working in that direction, then the revolution comes. But that conducive conditions, in language of UN, the conducive conditions does not prevail here. In Pakistan, we are very intelligent beings. 1800 million Pakistanis. We believe in power of our brains. and we come up with deliberations, and we are sane people, and we do not go into frenzy of revolution, though we are in an authoritarian setup. Same is the case with Indians. The madness prevails there. They do sometimes do cruel things to their small neighbors. They are very dominating. They have engulfed, succumbed Bhutan. Those small states are now satellites of India. They don't have any of their foreign policy or anything. They're trying it on Pakistan, and obviously they are a failure in their effort. They have tried on Nepal. They have tried this on Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka had successfully resisted them. So to be a successful state from the foreign policy point of view, Pakistan is having all the potential. Our national power, we are third nuclear power of the world. So people, they take us seriously all around the world. Nobody can afford to, provided that we are having an educated foreign minister. Our foreign office is equipped with educated beings having knowledge of specialized nature regarding different regions of the world, and that is there. We do produce students in our area study centers every year, graduates. I'm also one among them, and here we have a drawback that our foreign office shall be having inductions from those area study centers, direct inductions, so that we can have experts on all the desks within foreign office. And the national power is there, which is a prerequisite to exist as an independent entity while being a part of developing world. Because we were thrice we were invaded by India. Recently, 2 days ago, there was incursions from Afghanistan. They are not allowing us. That tiny, small Afghan country, Afghanistan, is not allowing us to make a gate for search purposes at our own soil. Though they are now being confronted by our armed forces, and hopefully within the next 48 hours they will be back in their senses. While dealing with Pakistan, they shall use their mouths, not guns. If they will do that, probably they will be for sure they will be in a very difficult situation. Though still I am not in favor of going into Afghanistan. 16 countries are already there, and they're under the UN umbrella, and they're trying to improve the lot of people of Afghanistan. So my friends, we are in a very difficult region, and from foreign policy point of view, we must have all the prerequisites to handle our neighbors. We have revolutionaries in Iran, we have cunnings in India, and those who are very dominating in nature in India. They have already engulfed Sakam and Bhutan. They are trying it on Nepal. They have tried on Sri Lanka. They are trying it on us to make us their satellite in all respects. and we have to handle them tactfully without letting them brutalize our people. That Torkham border was a spot from where people were coming from Afghanistan to brutalize our people here in KP and till Punjab even. Enough evidence of it is there. So we shall be very strict and we shall pursue our policy of good border management to stop infiltrations. We have lost already 60,000 civilians and people in our armed forces during past few decades because subversive activity is being ignored here. Sometimes, you see, to be very frank with all of you, that the type of laziness which I see here in Pakistan, sometimes not only me but my friends in Pakistan Army, they also think in these terms that we are having fifth columnists, those who are supporting the agenda of those powers who are bent upon initiating subversive activity here in Pakistan. And those fifth columnists are, exposing themselves with their behavior. Say, for example, coming back towards that elder from Karak, that, say, for example, a person who comes up with the argument to me that your higher education, your services for this province and for this country, your honesty and your hard work is no more required, and you're out of job now. The person who is saying this to me is definitely a fifth columnist, and to the people like me, because many of them are being thrown out from the jobs, and very illiterate and people with little qualification or no qualification or with fake documents are occupying big offices, and those who are facilitating them definitely are fifth columnists. They want to bring down this country, the third nuclear power of the world. They're obviously, once the education is out from your leadership, from your government offices, you are a collapse then. You are bound to collapse then as an independent nation. And the one who is taking all these actions, the one who is keeping his eyes closed upon brutal activities of subversive element, the one who is facilitating the networks involved in subversion in our Pakistani soil, is definitely a fifth columnist, is helping to bring down this third nuclear power of the world. The one who is disinterested in running foreign policy on a realistic grounds is definitely a fifth columnist, if not an ignorant, because ignorance can also they generally in our society, people, when they do mistakes, then they look for scapegoats to put the blame on them. So either they are mentally sick, or they are definitely fifth columnist, or they are big ignorance. and they are mismanaging Pakistan like anything. So to sum up the whole argument and the whole analysis and whatsoever it was, uh, the concern was raised by someone who is really very dear to me, that without having a reasonably good foreign policy, we won't be able to promote our economic interest. And once the economy is at the verge of collapse or it is being collapsed, then we are having that example of Soviet Union. With nuclear arsenal, we won't be able to keep our country integrated. So we shall, these both houses, Senate and National Assembly, they are meant for deliberation. Here you people can sit and discuss and can come up with better policies to improve the lot of this nation. And as I have stated earlier, that bill initiated by Madam Shiri Mazari, she is a PhD from Columbia University, and she's so brilliant. She was head of the strategic studies, and she knows the importance of that bill which she has initiated, and the whole parliament shall also realize that it is important that all the treaties which are being made with the rest of the world shall be ratified in our parliament. So we all shall know, and behind those treaties there shall be a political mandate. The consensus shall be there, because we are an honest and fair nation. We do not believe in dubious deals. Say for example, the treaties which are not being ratified by the parliament and are being made by individual dictators. What is the sanction behind those treaties? If God forbid we are having another dictator, he can denounce all the previous treaties on the grounds that he is not responsible. There is no legal, constitutional or moral sanction behind the treaties in shape of ratification from any parliament of Pakistan. Those previous treaties can be termed as all dubious deals which are not being discussed in the parliament. So that bill is important. That shall be co-sponsored by all the political parties. Frankly, we don't have any political party so far. They shall go for elections within the political parties to become real political organization. They are hereditary mafias promoting agendas of one family, which has created these political parties so far. So we shall be very realistic. We shall address all these issues swiftly and brilliantly. Then we can have some more chances to exist as independent sovereign nation with honor and dignity. So I hope that I have communicated enough, and I wish all of you all the best.